The phone call at 3 a.m. Ethan Cole had always hated silence after midnight. Not because silence scared him, because silence made him remember. At 36 years old, Ethan lived alone in a small apartment overlooking the industrial district of Portland, Oregon. During the day, he repaired security systems for office buildings. At night, he drank too much coffee, watched old baseball games, and tried not to think about his younger brother, Daniel, missing for 15 years. No body, no answers, just gone. Most people eventually stop expecting closure. Life forces them forward. Bills pile up. Jobs change. Parents grow old. Friends disappear. Memories fade. But grief never truly leaves. It simply learns how to wait quietly. That Thursday night began like every other. Ethan returned home around 11 after fixing cameras at a warehouse downtown. He heated leftover Chinese food, watched 20 minutes of television without paying attention, and finally crawled into bed around 1:30. The city outside was unusually calm. No traffic, no shouting, no sirens, just darkness stretching across Portland like a heavy blanket. Ethan fell asleep almost instantly. Then the phone rang. His eyes opened slowly. The room was dark except for the digital clock glowing beside his bed. 3 a.m. The phone vibrated again. Unknown caller. Ethan groaned and rolled over. Another ring. He ignored it. Third ring. Something about the sound bothered him. Not the volume. The rhythm. Steady. Patient. Like whoever was calling knew he would eventually answer. He rubbed his face and grabbed the phone. "What?" he muttered. Static crackled softly. Then a woman whispered, "Please don't hang up." Ethan blinked. Her voice trembled violently. "Who is this?" "You don't know me," she whispered. "But I know you." Ethan sat upright. Normally, he would have ended the call immediately, but fear has a sound, real fear, and whatever this woman felt was real. "What's going on?" he asked. A loud metallic noise echoed somewhere around her. She gasped quietly. "They're coming back." "Who's coming back?" No answer. Then another metallic slam, closer this time. "Listen carefully," she whispered urgently. "If this call disconnects, I die." Every trace of sleep vanished from Ethan's body. He switched on the bedside lamp. Warm yellow light filled the room. Still, he felt cold. "What's your name?" he asked carefully. "Claire." "Okay, Claire, where are you?" "I don't know." "That's not possible." "I woke up here." "What do you mean you woke up there?" "I mean, I don't remember how I got here." Ethan stood slowly and walked toward the kitchen. "You don't remember anything?" "Not much." "You hit your head?" "I don't think so." Another sound echoed through the phone. Footsteps. Claire inhaled sharply. "Oh, God!" "Claire?" "They're inside the building." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Call the police." "I tried. No signal except this call." "That makes no sense." "I know." He grabbed a glass of water from the sink. "Describe the place." Silence for a moment. Then, "Concrete walls, one steel door, no windows. Smells like oil." Her breathing shook. "There's water nearby, I think." "How do you know?" "I hear horns." Ethan froze slightly. "Ship horns. Harbor District." "Can you see anything else?" he asked. "Yes." "What?" "A symbol painted on the wall." His stomach tightened instantly. "What symbol?" A triangle with a circle inside it. The glass slipped from Ethan's hand and shattered across the floor because he knew that symbol, and he wished he didn't. Back in the summer of 2009, Ethan and Daniel used to sneak into abandoned buildings near the river outside Spokane, Washington. Daniel loved exploring dangerous places, old factories, collapsed mills, empty train tunnels. He treated every abandoned structure like buried treasure. One night, they found a strange symbol painted deep inside an old power station, a triangle with a circle inside it. Daniel became obsessed with it. He started researching it online, sketching it in notebooks, asking strange questions. 3 days later, he vanished. Police blamed teenage runaway behavior. Ethan never believed them. Neither did their mother. Daniel would never leave voluntarily, not without saying goodbye. And now, 15 years later, a terrified stranger had just described the exact same symbol. "Ethan?" Claire whispered through the phone. His heart skipped. "How do you know my name?" "It's written here." Every muscle in his body tightened. "What exactly is written?" "Ethan Cole." She paused. "And another name." "What name?" "Daniel Cole." The room suddenly felt too small. Ethan gripped the kitchen counter hard enough for his knuckles to whiten. "What else does it say?" Claire hesitated. "Failed." 20 minutes later, Ethan was driving toward Portland Harbor. Streetlights streaked across the windshield while Claire stayed on speakerphone. "Keep talking," Ethan said. "I'm trying." "Do you hear anything?" "Footsteps sometimes." "How many people?" "I don't know." "You never saw their faces?" "No." A loud bang echoed through the line. Claire whimpered. "They're close." Ethan accelerated harder. The harbor district appeared ahead. Endless rows of warehouses, shipping containers, cranes, and rusted industrial buildings lining the dark river. "Claire," he said, "make noise." "What?" "Bang on something." "So they hear me?" "So I hear you." Silence. Then, clang! The metallic sound echoed faintly through the phone. And somewhere ahead, Ethan heard it for real. Warehouse 12. He slammed the truck into park and sprinted toward the building. The main entrance was chained shut. Inside, he heard shouting. Claire screamed. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed a rusted pipe nearby and smashed the lock repeatedly until it snapped apart. He burst inside. Darkness swallowed him. His flashlight beam shook across towering shelves and abandoned machinery. Then movement. A blonde woman sprinting through the shadows. 2 men chased her. "Claire!" She turned toward his voice. Terrified blue eyes met his. One attacker grabbed her arm. Ethan swung the pipe with everything he had. Crack. The man collapsed instantly. The second attacker lunged at Ethan, slamming him against a steel support beam. Pain exploded through Ethan's ribs. The attacker wore black tactical clothing and a mask. No insignia. No emotion. The man pulled a knife. Claire screamed. Ethan struggled desperately as the blade moved toward his throat inch by inch. Then, bang! The attacker jerked sideways and collapsed. Claire stood trembling nearby, holding a revolver. Smoke drifted from the barrel. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then sirens echoed outside. Claire stared at Ethan in confusion. The phone. Ethan checked his pocket. The call was still active, but Claire held no phone, no headset, nothing. "I never had one," she whispered. A cold wave moved through Ethan's chest. What? I woke up with nothing. The speaker crackled. Then a calm, distorted voice said, "Round one completed." The line disconnected. The police arrived within minutes. Officers searched the warehouse for nearly 2 hours. The attackers vanished completely. No fingerprints, no IDs, nothing. Claire was taken to St. Vincent Medical Center for observation, while Ethan remained at the police station answering questions. Detective Luis Morales looked exhausted by the time sunrise arrived. "You're telling me she called you without a phone?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you." Morales rubbed his eyes. "And she knew your brother's name." "Yes." The detective leaned back silently. Then he opened a file folder and removed an old photograph. "You ever heard of Black Harbor?" Ethan frowned. "No." Morales slid the photograph across the table. It showed several men standing outside warehouse 12 years earlier. One wore the triangle and circle symbol around his neck. Another stared directly into the camera. Ethan's breath caught. Daniel, older, alive. The photo was dated 3 years ago. By afternoon, Ethan had convinced himself he was losing his mind. Claire officially didn't exist. No records, no identification, no history, and according to phone company logs, Ethan never received a call at 3 a.m. But before he could process any of it, another unknown number appeared on his screen. "Hello?" "Riverside Cafe," Claire whispered. Then the call ended. Claire sat alone in the back corner of the cafe, wearing borrowed hospital clothes and a baseball cap. She looked pale and exhausted. "You escaped the hospital?" Ethan asked. "They tried to sedate me." "Doctors do that sometimes." "These weren't doctors." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a fresh injection mark. "They kept asking questions." "What questions?" "What you remembered." Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. Claire glanced around nervously. "I think some of them work for Black Harbor." "What exactly is Black Harbor?" Claire pressed fingers against her temples painfully. "I don't fully remember." "Try." Flashes of emotion crossed her face. Bright lights, observation rooms, people screaming. She swallowed hard. "Experiments." "Experiments on what?" "Memory." Ethan stared silently. Claire leaned closer. "I think they found a way to erase parts of the human mind." At that exact moment, a tall man entered the cafe. Gray coat, cold eyes, watching them. Claire immediately went pale. "That's one of them." The man started walking toward their table. Ethan stood instantly. "Move." They rushed through the kitchen exit and burst into an alley behind the cafe. Footsteps thundered after them. Claire grabbed Ethan's sleeve. "They tracked me." "How?" "I don't know." They sprinted onto another street just as a city bus stopped nearby. Ethan dragged her aboard seconds before the doors closed. The gray-coated man reached the curb too late. He simply stared at them as the bus pulled away, smiling. That night, they hid in a roadside motel outside Portland. Rain didn't fall. The sky remained perfectly clear, but tension filled the room like a storm waiting to happen. Claire sat on the edge of the bed while Ethan paced. "You expect me to believe a secret organization can rewrite memories?" Claire looked exhausted. "You already believe it." Ethan stopped pacing. "What?" "You spent 15 years searching for your brother because something never felt right." Silence. She continued softly. "What if that feeling was real?" Ethan stared at the floor. What if they erased witnesses? Claire whispered. What if they changed evidence? His phone vibrated suddenly. Unknown number. Ethan answered instantly. Daniel? Static. Then, you were never supposed to answer. Daniel's voice. Older. Colder. Where are you? Ethan demanded. They're listening. Who? A pause. Then, look under Mom's house. The line disconnected. By sunrise, they were driving toward Spokane. Endless pine forests rolled beside the highway. Claire slept briefly while Ethan drove in silence. Every mile north dragged him deeper into memories he spent years trying to bury. He remembered Daniel laughing during camping trips, Daniel stealing their father's truck, Daniel insisting the symbol meant something important. And now Daniel was alive. Maybe. Claire suddenly woke with a gasp. What happened? I remembered something. What? She looked terrified. They don't just erase memories. Ethan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. What else? They replace them. Their childhood home sat abandoned at the end of a quiet suburban street. Dust coated the windows. Dead leaves covered the porch. The place looked frozen in time. Inside, family photographs still hung on the walls. One showed Ethan and Daniel fishing at age 12. Both smiling, both still innocent. Claire wandered slowly through the hallway. This place feels familiar. You've never been here. She frowned. I know. The basement door remained locked. Ethan kicked it open. Below, fresh scrape marks crossed the concrete floor. Something heavy had been moved recently. Together, they shoved aside an old cabinet. A hidden metal hatch waited underneath. Cold air drifted upward when Ethan opened it. A tunnel stretched into darkness beneath a house. Concrete walls, industrial lighting, government construction. What the hell? Ethan whispered. They followed the tunnel into a hidden underground chamber filled with dusty monitors and equipment. Most systems were dead, except one glowing computer screen. A video file waited. Dated October 17th, 2009. Daniel appeared on screen. Alive, terrified. If you're watching this, he said breathlessly, it means they failed. Claire covered her mouth. Daniel continued. Black Harbor began as military research. They wanted total psychological control, memory editing, behavioral correction. Ethan stared silently. At first, they tested prisoners, then civilians. The image glitched. They discovered trauma creates permanent memory anchors. Emotional experiences survive deletion attempts. Claire whispered, Oh my God. Daniel looked directly into the camera. They created new identities for subjects, entire fake lives. Then he said the words that shattered Claire completely. Claire Bennett is actually Dr. Claire Holloway. Claire stumbled backward. No. She worked on the project before trying to expose it. The screen distorted violently. Daniel suddenly screamed, Run! Every monitor activated simultaneously. Red warning lights flooded the chamber. A voice echoed through hidden speakers. Subject recovery initiated. Footsteps thundered above them. Gunfire exploded nearby. Ethan grabbed Claire's arm. Move! They sprinted through the tunnel while masked men stormed the basement behind them. Bullets slammed into concrete walls. Claire cried out in panic. Halfway through the tunnel, she stopped suddenly. I remember now. We don't have time. I helped them. Ethan turned. Tears streamed down her face. I erased people. You tried to stop them. How do you know? Because they erased you too. For a moment she stared at him silently. Then they ran. They escaped Spokane and returned to Portland 2 days later. Everything pointed back to the harbor, back to Warehouse 12, back to where the nightmare began. Fog drifted across the industrial docks as midnight approached. Claire stared at the building with growing dread. This is where they tested subjects. Inside, the abandoned warehouse had transformed into a massive hidden operation. Servers lined the walls. Huge monitors glowed blue. Technicians moved silently between stations. Black Harbor was alive and thriving. Then Ethan heard a familiar voice. You came anyway. Daniel stepped from the shadows above. Older, hollow-eyed, changed. Ethan's chest tightened painfully. Daniel. Daniel smiled faintly. You should have stayed asleep. What did they do to you? They showed me truth. Claire stepped forward angrily. They brainwashed you. Daniel looked at her calmly. No, Claire, we perfected ourselves. He gestured toward the glowing monitors. Thousands of faces appeared on screen. Profiles, memories, behavior patterns. They've already started, Daniel whispered. Ethan stared in horror. How many people? Daniel smiled. You'd be amazed how fragile reality is. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the warehouse. Federal agents stormed the building from every entrance. Gunfire erupted below. Chaos exploded everywhere. Daniel looked genuinely surprised. You leaked our location, he said softly. Ethan raised his phone. I recorded every call. For a moment, Daniel simply stared at him, then smiled sadly. Maybe you finally grew up. Agents flooded the upper platform. Federal agents, get down! Daniel stepped backward toward darkness. Daniel! Ethan shouted, but his brother vanished into smoke and shadows. Gone again. 8 months later, the government publicly denied almost everything. Official reports blamed unauthorized psychological research programs buried inside private defense contracts. Several officials disappeared. Some were arrested. Most names remained classified. Claire Holloway slowly rebuilt fragments of her memory. Some days she remembered childhood details that weren't hers. Other days, entire years vanished from her mind completely. Ethan returned to work, returned to normal routines, or at least pretended to. But every night before sleeping, he unplugged his phone. Every single night. Because sometimes, at exactly 3 a.m., the screen still lit up. Unknown caller. And no matter how many times he changed numbers, no matter how many phones he destroyed, the calls always returned. One winter night, nearly a year later, Ethan finally answered again. Static crackled softly. Then Daniel whispered, They never stopped. Ethan closed his eyes slowly. Where are you? Silence. Then, do you remember the lake house? Ethan's blood ran cold. Their family lake house burned down 20 years earlier. Nobody except Daniel should have known that. Daniel, you still don't understand, his brother whispered. Understand what? A long pause followed. Then Daniel quietly said, The first memory they changed was yours. The line disconnected. Ethan stared at the dead phone in complete silence, then slowly looked toward the hallway mirror. For one terrifying second, he didn't recognize the man staring back. The end. Thank you for staying till the end of the phone call at 3 a.m. If you enjoyed this suspense thriller, Stay on this channel for more mystery, horror, and psychological stories every week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next late night story. Good luck! And if your phone rings at 3 a.m., maybe let it ring.